Hello and welcome to GAS, Poetry, Art, and Music. I'm your host, Belinda Subraman. We're going to jump right into a conversation with Ron Whitehead.
I taught college for 20 years, and I won a couple scholarships. I studied at Oxford for a little while with Valentine Cunningham, the head of English literature there, and won a lot of awards. And poetry's taken me all over the world, to countries, to poetry festivals everywhere. It's an amazing story, and there's a film that's been in the works for 10 years called Outlaw Poet, The Legend of Ron Whitehead, that was supposed to be released this year, but because of the pandemic, it's been put off till next year, coming out from Storm Generation Films and Dark Star TV. And I started in 1992, I started the Global Literary Renaissance with the goal of home basing in Louisville and reaching out to, being all-inclusive, reaching out to poets all over the world and uplifting and inspiring folks everywhere to come together any which way we can. And like through the work you're doing, for example, and I've been blessed to work with some amazing people. I wrote a poem with the Dalai Lama. I worked with Allen Ginsberg and Lawrence Ferlinghetti, who's still with us, age 101. I got him nominated for the Nobel Prize. I wish he would receive it. He's still hanging in there. He's about lost his hearing and his eyesight. And worked with Diane DePrima, the First Lady of the Beat Generation, was the first poet I brought to the University of Louisville to launch an international reading series. I've been trying to get Ferlinghetti to come, and it took me a year to get him to come, and he finally said, look, if you'll take me to Thomas Merton's grave, I will come. And so I said, done. And so he came in April of 93. And so, but then we talked, he told me the story of Thomas Merton spending the last night of his life in the United States with Ferlinghetti in San Francisco at City Lights before Merton flew on to Asia, where he had 3 talks with the Dalai Lama. And the Dalai Lama to this day tells how Merton inspired him to change his life and to become more ecumenical in his view of the world, his acceptance of all beliefs, all religions, all spiritualities. And then Ferlinghetti said, why don't you invite the Dalai Lama to Louisville and to visit Merton's grave? And he's never been to Kentucky. And I looked at him, I said, well, I'll do that. And so I worked for a year to bring the Dalai Lama to Kentucky. He ended up coming in April, a year later, April of 94. And I had the opportunity at the Kentucky Center for the Arts at the end of a press conference after his talk to a packed house at the Kentucky Center for the Arts. I had the opportunity to ask the Dalai Lama one question, and this was recorded in an animated version. It wasn't filmed, but it was recorded. And so the filmmakers have taken the recording of our exchange and they created an animation of the Dalai Lama and me, and this is going to be included in this film that's coming out about me. And I told the Dalai Lama, I talked pretty fast, and thankfully has a translator who slowed down everything I said. I told him, I said, next month in May, 94, New York University has asked me to produce a 48-hour nonstop music and poetry insomniacathon to kick off the week-long 50-year celebration of the Beat Generation, and over 300 young people from around the world will be performing at my event. And will you share with me a message I can then share with young people of all ages? And the Dalai Lama, he gets so tired of the same questions being asked by the press. You know, will China ever get out of Tibet? Will they ever let you back into Tibet, etc.? And so other members of the press had asked him those kinds of questions, and he was looking at his watch, and he was bored. yawning. But when I asked him that question, he smiled real big, closed his eyes, and gave a long message. Well, lo and behold, I had a life-changing experience there, not only meeting the Dalai Lama and being totally transformed by that, but also what happened next. It never happened to me. I received through some kind of, this is the only way I can interpret it, and I talk about it in the film that's going to be released in one of the interviews, some kind of spiritual transmission. All I heard when he was talking was the poem, Never Give Up. And I thought that's what he was saying, but he wasn't saying that at all. And I just looked down at the floor in front of my feet because I was stunned and blown away by the experience of receiving this message from the Dalai Lama. And so I was looking right in front of my feet, and all of a sudden there's this burgundy yellow glow in front of my feet, and I look up, and lo and behold, there's the Dalai Lama right in front of me. And so I felt like a little kid all of a sudden. I didn't know what to do. I held my right hand up, and I looked into his eyes, and he grabbed my hand with both of his, and he stared, he squeezed my hand real hard, and he bowed. And then he turned and he left the room, and he was blessing the message that he had given me. And so I was just like, oh my God. And so as soon as I left, I wrote the poem down, and I shared it in New York City at NYU when I produced that event. I shared it on a Northeast tour right after that. I've shared it wherever I've gone ever since. But that a little bit later, when I got to Kentucky, I hand wrote a letter to the Dalai Lama in Dharamsala, India, and I had a couple of friends who were friends of his, and I told him, I explained my experience to him. I hand wrote the poem. I said, will you please bless this? I want to produce a poster, and I need a photo of you to put on the poster, because I had already started this Published in Heaven poster series. And so I got this, I got a letter back, and a blessing me and the poem and the poster and all of that. And I have since thousands of copies of different editions of the poster have been sent to monasteries, to individuals. I've given thousands of copies away over a 26-year period now. I do want to mention that the last 5 years, I don't know if you can see this, I've worked on this book. It's the Hunter S. Thompson, it's the Hells Angels letters. Hunter S. Thompson, Margaret Harrell, and The Making of an American Classic by Margaret Ann Harrell in collaboration with Ron Whitehead. And it's just released by Norfolk Press in San Francisco. And this is the paperback edition, which is a beautiful coffee table size. It's only available through Norfolk Press, and they're going to bring out a deluxe edition. There are 150 original letters and never been seen by the public. Margaret Ann was Hunter's a Random House editor for Hells Angels and worked with Hunter directly. They ended up having a relationship during that process. And this was just released, and I'm real excited about this. I've been working on it with her for 5 years. I'll read one poem. Shooting up poetry in New Orleans. Near the levee, a maroon Hudson sedan driven by Neil Cassidy pulls up to a dilapidated old house with tall grass and weeping willows in the yard. It's 509 Wagner Street, Algiers, the home of William S. Burroughs. Neil, Jack Kerouac, Al Hinkle, and Lou Ann Henderson arrive from the road to spend a few days with Burroughs. Burroughs rarely goes out except to make his connection. He invites Kerouac to try his orgone accumulator. Burroughs says, sit inside and you'll absorb life principle atoms right out of the atmosphere. He attempts to convince Kerouac into abandoning his road trip with Cassidy. Years later, I'm in New Orleans, standing outside the Howlin' Wolf Club. I'm here to produce yet another Beat Generation spirited 48-hour non-stop music and poetry insomniacathon, and I've been burning up the road day and night with no end in sight. I'm feeling burnt out, tired to the bone, so I'm searching for a fix of poetry to shoot into my blood, to rejuvenate my spirit. I'm calling on Bill Burroughs and Jack Kerouac and Neil Cassidy, but I haven't found my orgone accumulator, my new poetry yet, and my head is hanging so low it's dragging the ground. I've known nothing but failure lately, and I've been burning the candle at both ends so long there's nothing left of me but smoke and ashes. So I'm wondering if the time has finally arrived for me to become cinder for that long distance, never ending railroad to nowhere. My spirit screams out for help, and in a flash I hear Allen Ginsberg whisper, "Take a hand, share the word." And out of the blue, the poetry gospel starts flowing through my groin and my gut and my heart and my head. And my, oh my, I jump and shout and sing. Yes, right in front of the Howlin' Wolf Club, I'm grabbed hold of by the poetry spirit, and now someone's singing and banging on a piano. So I open the door and peek in, and lo and behold, there's Dr. John doing double note crossovers and over and unders. He's doing his ooh-la, ma-la, walla. He's playing and speaking in tongues right here in the middle of the holy New Orleans afternoon. And out of the blue, I found the poetry I've been looking for. I look up, and there's the full moon smiling at me from over the Mississippi River, and I think of Algiers and Bill Burroughs and Jack Kerouac and Neil Cassidy, and I think of Neil's flame, gone, 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 his naked body lying beside those long-distance, never-ending railroad tracks to nowhere, and I hope all the poets and musicians performing at this 48-hour non-stop music and poetry insomniacathon. Hell, I hope all of us keep the funk, keep that fuck you flame alive. Don't let the system break you. Don't let life break you. And I hear Dr. John playing that piano and singing his boogie-woogie into the world blues. And in that moment, I know my reward is in the experience of poetry. And right here, right now, I'm in New Orleans with all these poets and musicians who somehow know the magical power of poetry. The word sets us free. And I think about Allen Ginsberg and what he said about taking somebody's hand, because we're all in this together. We're pulling. We ain't pushing. We're letting it be. We realize that when one of us is lifted up, we're all lifted up. And I realize that poetry is life and life is poetry. And I feel an energy rising through me, growing strong, coming from poets and musicians of all ages, and I don't feel like failure anymore. I feel good. I feel strong. I feel reborn into poetry, into life, and it feels like resurrection, rebirth into poetry right here, right now, shooting up poetry in New Orleans.
All right. I felt that.
Okay, I hope you're able to hear that.
Yeah, there was like one spot where it went, did this computery funnies, but it'll be all right.
Okay.
We can't help it. Thank you so much, Ron. It's a pleasure and an honor to meet you. Okay.
Thank you.
All righty.
See you on down the road somewhere. Bye-bye.
Right. Bye-bye.
There will be queens and presidents, laureates and slaves, cicada and the calamity of brass bells in a chorus at 2 a.m. when the shadows stretch and bend across the heavy doors of the spirit-swollen church. poets from Paris, Sacramento, and Kuala Lumpur will begin a serenade, take on a puppet Broadway, stoned choreography in a piazza, while children in pajamas crawl out on moonlit balconies, watch through curtains of night-drying laundry, dripping blouses and large pink underwear. The dance and fermentation of the spoken word. It will come. The change. It will come. The change. There will be a quake, a mutant rhyme, a seagull cry, then the change will come. A breeze from the broad blue Tyrrhenian Sea, the resurrection of green and every lava-buried breath, disabling Kabul and utopian Abrachi. It will come. It will come. The change. The change. And then the children will go out, back to bed. The police will never say a word. The clock will unwind, and the poets will march in celebration of another broken law, another pantomime of insurrection. It will come, the change. It will come, the change.
I get up early, there's nowhere to go. I got the pen blue. People coughing to the right of me, gasping to the left, they got the pandemic blue. Wearing no mask in the grocery store when he screams at the people begging his food. He's got the pandemic blue. They keep rolling in the hospital doors where the doctors and nurses never go home. They're fighting the pandemic blues. Federal agents roam the streets, looking to shoot and plant fake evidence. This can't be the pandemic blues. Can't go out, don't wanna stay home. Say, have you got the pandemic blues? Government men say go back to work. Businessmen say it too. They don't care who catches the pandemic blues. People die surrounded by strangers, and no one even comes to their grave. Things don't end well with the pandemic blues. Will they ever find a cure? And how will we be able to trust it? Nothing is sure in the pandemic blue. You used to see me, I used to see you. Now no one sees no one with the pandemic blue. Sit at home, look out the window, watch the sun crash red toward the sea. Another day gone in the pandemic blue. Another day gone in the pandemic blue.
This is Michael Amerton, aka MDA, reporting from South Pigalle, Paris, France, Europe. I'd like to present 4 poems for your viewing and listening pleasure. They are Mambo's Blues, Dylan Has Blue Eyes, Marvin, and Marooned Bells.
Sad Spanish strains on Night Street, all dissent quiet, church mice sleeping, humans creeping through petrified forests, papers to run you around, papers to walk the dog, police looting city blocks, forgotten masquerade masks soaking in God-forsaken puddles, gloves and skeleton mud runners. Double-fried kisses and canned peaches and mist stare from weathered shelves. Embraces on hold until a magic clock strikes 12. The Poets Creek, the Paris pastures reach in abandoned, plunging, hollow, cold ice streams. With great introspection, masses ponder the great dissection. Easter bunnies screw in tournicell sheds, the bum rap meds. No one to touch my hand, your hand, his hand, her hand. Lab rats grin as the mother of all vaccines warms to the resounding orchestral death march. We stay together, keep our love, hide in the never heard of. We knit our threads and bake our breads and sing our songs and read Walt all night long. Nurses, doctors, helping hands, stave off the storm with clothespins. When nature heals, as the wheels roll off the highway and rest like tires in a wilted roadside graveyard. Dylan has blue eyes, blue as acid rain falling from the iron mines. He stole away in the steel-toe snowy night. Tangled up in winter howl New York, blue parade the watchman cries like a wayward stork. Collapsing in post-war wharfs of solitude, it's all over now. The JFK bullets signed, sealed, delivered. Dylan just arrived in town, escorting Jane through the after-hour, dark, sour alleyways, creak-eyed, ragtime, forgotten stairs, making love till daybreak, and lonely whistle-stop shadows below the seedy swept window panes. Cinderella swept up night's sad confetti. Jane, deep blue morning. He's hopped a passing train to the next crumbling town. Hurling knaves to a boiler pot, on the tombstone heels of Jack Kay he carved his plot. Dylan has blue eyes. He's seen Hurricane Carter do blasphemous time. Emmett Till dug up from southern soup brines. Hattie Carroll, the deluge feral bombers flying grease oil nights. Innocents chained in a Texas two-step charade. Angels crying star-spangled tears. She hears the tracks rumble. Left behind on anxious street, she awakens and lifts her finger to the wind. Knows what direction he's in, far from that blue light dream hotel. Marooned bells, marooned on a couch, brown raft, rocking Ile-de-France. Sullen blackboard jazz blowing from across the Navy New Orleans seas. Slow-mo angels doing somersaults on my torn corn red curtain reverie. In these broken Halloween bones and masks, I rummage through the ashes that crash me into this pink new golden-faced dawn. Floating past jagged-edged icicles into the night-melting chocolate Clark Terrys, they didn't believe me. Love lost is something we can never afford. Head stuck on a starboard mast, crashing through storm waves painted in dead dreams. And feeling that familiar frost-bitten regret again that we never consummated the close quarters of then. What are regrets other than dead seagulls floating in a ghost soup sea?
Ask you about Medscapedia, which I saw some notes on your website. Tell me about what you're doing with, what is Medscapedia?
Oh, sure. Hi, everybody. Hey, Belinda. So Medscapedia is, well, it's weird to talk about it in the past tense because I actually just finished it last year. It's a poetry project that I started in 2015 because I felt like I didn't know enough about poetry. I've been writing for a long time, since the early 90s, and I'm 47 now, I have to think about it. But 2015, I started Medscapedia because I wanted to literally know everything about poetry. So the Princeton Encyclopedia of Poetry and Poetics is like 1,800 pages. Literally everything you could possibly want to know about poetry, right? From, the first poem that was ever written, all the poetry movements going back to ancient Greece up until yesterday, right? So I was like, all right, I'm going to, well, first I started out talking to a buddy of mine, a poet in Connecticut. He and I were joking. He was like, oh, you should sit down and read that whole thing cover to cover. And I was like, you're crazy. And I was like, oh, I could do that. I could sit down and read that thing and, get to know, how to write poetry. And then I was like, shit, I should write a poem for every entry. I was like, no, I couldn't do that. Oh, I could do that. Yeah, I'm going to do that. And then I did it. And so I sat down every single day, starting in July 22nd of 2015. I wrote a poem every single day. It turned out to be like 1,800 poems or something like that for every single entry in the encyclopedia. And August 19th, actually, of last year was when I finished it. And it was crazy. It was so much work. But wow. I feel like I have an encyclopedic knowledge of poetry. Yeah. And I just scratched the surface of what I don't know. So.
Well, that's a real interesting project. I guess you learned a lot from that.
Yes, I did.
Would you like to read a couple of poems?
My book, everybody, this is Cacophony. The drawings are from my friend Aaron Morgan. This one's depressing, but I think it might be one of my favorites. All right, you ready? All right, this one's called Better Not Born. And here's the drawing, if you can see it. This guy's just twisted. So this is called Better Not Born. Stabbing is messy. Better to have a bath, slash my wrist. Jumping off a cliff, undignified. Better I never existed. We consume, excrete, age, and die, much like any other animal, and should expect the same end. Not a glorious, dignified king of beasts, a scientific curiosity, a mutation, nothing more. I'm no different. Turn back the hands, replace me with another. The world will keep burning. Better to break the tree off at the root than to let it desiccate and wither. We will transform ourselves into oblivion, and I want no part except for them to admit he magnified our fears until he screamed and we turned away in indifference.
Do you want to do one more from there?
Yes. All right, this one is called Gnashing of Teeth, Sunset for the Lords of Venus. And again, here's a stellar drawing from my buddy Aaron. All right, this is a nice little prose poem here. There will be great weeping and gnashing of teeth, wailing for Earth's cultures, spores, core, crust, and mantle drifting apart, giant rings expanding, spinning our carbon quarks far and farther, darkening skies making hazy sunsets on Venus, Saturn, and Titan, Pluto's moons, places beyond our comprehending, thank God, to cover baby stars in our eyes, to touch tiny galaxies with our fingers. What a blessing.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I think that'll be fine, unless there's something else you'd like to add, poetry related. Okay, then. All righty, bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye, thank you.
All righty. I'm here with Rosie Varela from the El Paso band called EAP. And we're going to talk a little bit about the new video out from EAP from the new album. Hi, Rosie. Tell me something about your journey with EAP, how it formed and what your aim is, whatever you want to tell us.
Hi, Belinda. It's really great to be here with you and have this conversation. Well, you know, when I was 51, I had been in music for a while, and I had wanted to explore doing a different kind of music genre. So I started writing shoegaze music, which is a very noisy, layered kind of music, and I really enjoyed it. And I wrote a song, and my husband Justin suggested that I talk to Ross about, you know, recording the single. So I went over to Ross at Brainville Studio, and great studio, great people there, and I had him listen to the demo, and he was like, "Oh yeah, let's do this." And one song became 2 songs, became 3, became 4, and we started recruiting our friends to help us. And in the end, we have a 5-piece band. We recorded a full album, and the fun part is that, like, we did it over 15 months, and we would meet once a month and just kind of record very spontaneously. It was really, really great.
And is there any particular meaning for the song we're going to show, the video, Canal?
Well, Canal started off with a response to a news story, actually. And this particular video is very far away from the original intention of the song, to tell you the truth. This video is about, I like to play with video art, and I like to play with video editing. And so this was about kind of showing some of the silhouettes of modern life right now, and just having a lot of fun with the colored lights. I do suffer from an eye disease, and so I really get a kick out of making these, and I'm going to keep doing it until my eyes give out, really. But it was really about creating a vibrant, colorful video, and kind of showing in a very subtle way some of the silhouettes that we pose in modern life.
Well, that's a great explanation, and that's all we need. And now we're going to play Canal by EAP. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Belinda.
New Age Shakespearean death, the self-dagger of failure, lessons, life seen as it is, half-truths of illusion fade, a slower, deeper awe meets mild tingles lingering still, on a journey we can't prove, a mission we can't explain. Stars become the map, we begin connecting dots. Space is felt across dimensions. Our bodies grow toward Earth. Static crinkles the airwaves. Pupils and pores are shocked open. Screaming love, shedding and renewing as we go. Trees from childhood. I hold on to innocence. The light before the darkness of damage lingers. I played house with rusty tin can lids as plates picked from garbage dumped in the woods. It was more the norm than exception in pre-Earth Day awareness. The standing people in the forest were my friends, with arms for swings and climbing, scent of pine needles and sticky residue gifted from the easiest trees to climb. Delicate golf ball-sized seeds were pretend eggs. Acorns were pickles, or whatever the menu required that day. I would serve imaginary people. It was lonely, but they didn't complain. Thank you for listening and watching Gas, Poetry, Art, and Music. We hope you will encourage us by subscribing to the channel, liking and commenting, possibly reviewing if you have a magazine, or mention us and places. Tell your friends about us. All is appreciated, and we hope you come back for Gas, Poetry, Art, and Music number 6.